What is good, and welcome to episode 358 of the most LAFC podcast on the planet. That's right. This is Defenders of the Bank. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Coming to you live from Lawndale. It's the mouth of the South Bay, the Scarf, J.R. Liebert. And with me across the interwebs in the cave that is known as the lair of Lafferty, I give you one, Chris Lafferty.
Good morning. Good morning. No, don't worry. I'm not locked in a basement somewhere. I am here in beautiful Sherman Oaks, California, across the interweb from my good friend J.R. Liebert down in the South Bay. My friend, it is so good to be back here and talking about a win. It is so good to be here without all the Dolo out haters. I said it. We're not even 2 minutes in, and I'm throwing the heat. My friend, it's good to be back here. Good to have a win to talk about today. It's a little bit Sunday morning, so I'm a little subdued, but my friend, I am ready to go.
Yeah, look, it was a get-right game for sure for LAFC. Even though we didn't look fantastic, still created a bunch of great opportunities. As much as the Houston Dynamo tried to lull us to sleep with that first half, we came back out. Look, I'll take a goal in each half, but moreover, we'll have to talk about the defensive effort because it was a great one. At the end of the match, Houston still looking for their first shot on target. But again, we'll break it all down. We'll talk about it. Again, a really good win for these guys in a game, in a match that you absolutely must have at home against an opponent that is just ripe for the picking. And they were. Were your headphones a Houston Dynamo giveaway with the orange? I see the orange color there. I like that. You're a little bit of solidarity maybe with Eric Dwanius on this one. I like it.
Yeah, well, you know what? Hey, look, if the coach isn't going to put him in his homecoming return match, I'm going to give him a shout out here. So, Ben Olsen, you're a jerk in my eyes. You're a jerk, Ben Olsen.
Right? Like, he subbed on two other guys right at the end. We couldn't have tossed Eric in to get a standing ovation or something at home. Boo you, Ben Olsen. Do not like that, man. All right, more on Ben Olsen in a little bit. Just want to remind everybody, by the way, thank you all for joining us here on Defenders of the Bank early this morning. Ruben and Cougar and everybody else in the chat. We know it's early. It's about 20 or so in the morning, you guys. But thank you for joining us here on Sunday, May 4th. Happy Star Wars Day, everybody. May the 4th be with you. I am that nerd. I have no problem saying it. It's Star Wars Day. I'm excited, and Chris Lafferty is making me hold on.
No, you know what I just realized? Yeah, it's May 4th. This is the anniversary of my college graduation, which was May 4th. So that was the first time that I ever heard people talk about May the 4th be with you, because they were like wishing me that, like, as a good luck, congratulations. I was like, oh, that's pretty clever. And then I realized it's a thing that everybody says ad nauseum, and they don't shut up about.
Hey, listen, for all of us nerds out there, I stand with you today. The new series Andor has been fantastic. One of my favorite things in all of Star Warsdom is Rogue One, so I was really excited to have Andor come back out again. And look, just because Chris Lafferty doesn't get it, guys, it's okay. You all can stand with me. I represent all of us nerds out there. Happy Star Wars Day to everybody.
I will say I actually worked for a few days on Star Wars as a production assistant. I worked 3 days on Skeleton Crew, the one that just came out recently. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I didn't work with any of like the big name stars or anything, but I got to work on that cool volume set that they created. Where it's like the big interactive 3D dome. Where basically for the volume, for people who aren't familiar with it, it's a set. Basically, think about a green screen that you would see people acting in, and then in post-production, they go and add everything behind it. Well, this is the opposite, where they add everything in beforehand, so that when you're acting on the set, everything's already built in. So when like the camera moves, everything moves with it. So you really feel like you're in the world of the set or the world of the movie. It was really amazing to work on set with it. So I'm going to stop being a jerk about Star Wars and everything. I really enjoyed it.
I love it. Good. All right. If If that's what it takes, we'll take it. Look, it's cultural, man. It's a thing. It's a thing that my dad and I used to do as well. We used to go to the midnight showing of every new Star Wars movie that came out in 1999 when they released, obviously, the new trilogy, plus when they re-released all the old ones afterwards. It was just a cool thing that we did. So
look, I don't hate Star Wars. I just hate cliches. Okay, that's
you guys heard it here. Chris Lafferty hates Star Wars. I'm only saying what I hear. So there you go. Look, let's get on to other topics because clearly you're triggered by your hatred for Star Wars.
You're going to be canceled.
Want to remind everybody that the Mo Fascio Futsal Court fundraising effort is still underway, that LAFC, the LAFC Foundation, and the 3252 are partnering to build that futsal court in Cudahy. So check the link out, lafc.com/Mo-Fascio to donate. So look, we got to get that court funded and built so we can all have a kickabout on Mo's court in Cudahy. So don't forget that. And then look, a quick reminder, if you're not already, please give us a follow, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you want to follow us on, please give us a follow. We would very much appreciate that. Let's get into this day in LAFC history and a quick bit of news and notes. If you're listening to this game, to this episode, as you know, May the 4th, on May 4th, 2019, LAFC played to a very uneventful 0-0 draw against Chicago at Bank of California Stadium, the Chicago Fire. It was the last game at Bank of California Stadium for Bastian Schweinsteiger. And I know Philly and I were pretty excited to see Basti in person. He was playing as like a weird kind of attack or center holding midfielder at that point. There was just, I don't know what they were doing with Basti at that point, but he was pretty much done with his career at that point. It was a frustrating game for LAFC as it featured 22 shots, but very few on target, 4 offsides, and just 1 shot on target for Chicago. So maybe there is something about this time of year with LAFC being able to keep the opposition off of shots on target. And oh, by the way, it's 2025 as we are sitting here. That match was 2019. And in both of the matches that we are going to talk about today, both that one in 2019 and this one against Houston, Eddie Segura started at center back in both of those matches. You figure it's now been 7 seasons with Eddie Segura on the on LAFC, and pretty cool, right? I mean, he's kind of seen a lot of things here. And I just want to remind everybody, the only news and note I have of LAFC worthiness would be that the Houston match is going to be replayed on LAFC Encore on KCOP Channel 13 Tuesday at 5:30. So if there was for some reason that you couldn't make it out to the match, or you didn't get a chance to watch it on Apple TV, listening to the great Max Bretos or Dave Denholm, it's going to be on Tuesday, Channel 13, 5:30 p.m. So don't forget to watch that. LAFC 2 will take on the Rapids U23 squad today out at Cal State Fullerton, Titan Stadium, 7 o'clock. So Sunday, May the 4th, if you want to dress up, bring a lightsaber. See if Chris Lafferty wants to go and have some fun dressing up as a Star Wars character. Why not? Sunday, that's today, 7 p.m., Titan Stadium. And then last thing, we'll check in on Angel City real quick. A great effort by Angel City in D.C. as they took it late against the Washington Spirit 4-3. Riley Tiernan with a brace, including the match winner in the 8th minute of second half stoppage time. Giselle Thompson scoring her first NWSL goal off an assist by her sister, Alyssa. They head home to take on the Utah Royals Friday, May 9th, which has no Star Wars tie, so maybe Lafferty will be happy about it, at 7:30 p.m. And as a reminder for all your Angel City needs, please be sure to listen to and follow at Angel City Chicks on all your social media platforms. Chris, are you done being upset at Star Wars yet?
I'm not upset at Star Wars, but I will be a dad for a moment here and go maybe call ahead or check the website to see if you can actually bring a lightsaber to the game at Titan Stadium. I don't know if that's allowed. Look, I don't want everybody, there at LAFC2 getting mad saying, those guys over at Defenders of the Bank are telling us to bring weapons into the stadium. I don't know. So look, just maybe don't bring a lightsaber, but bring your Star Wars spirit with you. Okay, there you go.
And he gives the Spocker on the screen. Oh my God. Oh, the nerds out there, he's a lightning rod for criticism. Everybody, this is remember, it's Chris Lafferty who's just doing all of those things. And I just want to remind everybody, like I sometimes have to do with Philly, the views expressed by Chris Lafferty are those of his own and not the views of Defenders of the Bank as a whole. So again, hit him up directly on social media if you'd like to let him know how you actually feel about all that.
Hey,
oh boy.
let me ask. What part is he just kidding about? The Philly out or the part that I'm an awesome co-host? I don't know. I don't know if he meant both things or not.
Chat. Kai, we appreciate you. And yeah, man, we're trying. I know you're back in Kansas City now. You had that cool video of playing with your son. But man, we could definitely use you out here in Los Angeles.
Sure could.
All right, let's get into the match because as much as today is Star Wars Day and we're having a lot of fun, the match was last night, May 3rd, against the Houston Dynamo at BMO Stadium. And look, Dynamo are not a good team. They headed into the match in 13th place, scoring just 1 goal a game, but they did have 2 goals in each of their last 2, and they are buoyed by a new big signing of Andre Linger, and we'll talk about him in just a little bit. But for us who were in the stadium last night, Lafferty, it was nice before the match when Eric Dwanius came out for warmups. They did a nice little tribute to Eric. And look, we have said, as I'll use the same Latin phrase that Lafferty used earlier, ad nauseum on this show, how much we love and respect Eric Dwanius for everything that he did while he was with our club, starting at 11 years old all the way through 19 before he went off to the Houston Dynamo. He's gotten very little burn this year, 83 minutes total over 6 matches, and he absolutely should have got into the game at the end. Ben Olsen, you suck. We'll talk more about that later. But you know what I didn't realize, Chris Lafferty? In all of his matches that he ever played for LAFC, all the times he was in the 18, everything else, never registered a goal or an assist. So the assist that he registered this year against Inter Miami was his first MLS point. So good on Eric Dwanius, already making some history for himself.
Hey, we sent him off to spread his wings and fly and to grow, and well, he's got an assist now under his wings, and that's a feather in his cap that he didn't have with us. So hey, I root for Eric Dwanius' success and his growth and everything. So best of luck and congratulations on the assist against Inter Messi. And hey, man, keep it going. And I would love it. Well, I'm glad he didn't get an assist or a goal last night, but I would have liked if he had the opportunity, Ben Olsen.
Yeah, no, absolutely ridiculous. Look, 48 matches played for LAFC, but I mean, I feel like you look at his statistics and obviously 48 matches, no goals, no assists. Those don't really quantify or crystallize the story of Eric Dwanius at LAFC. Look, it was Christian Torres, Tony Leone, and Eric Dwanius, the first 3 homegrowns that were all signed together at the same time. And I mean, the kid came all the way through the academy, was the first real proof that our academy can produce MLS quality players. And so he just meant so much more. He was there from day one, even earlier than day one. But I got to tell you, it's just it was great to see him back in BMO Stadium. And look, before the match, after the match, he was hanging out with all the boys. It was really cool. So good on him. Let's talk a little bit about. Oh, by the way, honorary Falconer. I'm a giant Lakers fan, y'all. It's really the only Los Angeles sports team that I kind of rooted for before LAFC, if I'm being perfectly honest. I know. I love watching the Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani is great, but y'all know I'm a Mets fan. But the Lakers are my basketball team. To see Michael Cooper as the honorary Falconer, Hall of Famer, five-time champion, I think, 5-time champion, Michael Cooper. Just an incredible thing to see Coop as the honorary Falconer. But Lafferty, Ollie, instead of flying out of the stadium, like we have oft worried that she does, she actually flew literally into the stadium last night, into the field club. She missed everything, just went all the way through the doors, apparently into the field club, swooped around there for a little bit. If I'm a season ticket holder or first-time gamer in the field club and I see Ollie coming at me pre-match, I got to think I'm on like Final Destination or something like that. That was rough.
No, I got to think, what a deal. That's awesome. You come into the match and you're, unbeknownst to you, you're also going to be the honorary Falconer.
Yeah, I don't know where Jason, I think Ruben says it in the chat. Ollie knew where her treats were stashed. I don't know where Jason found her in the field club, but oh my goodness, like for Ollie to enter the stadium, that must have been kind of a treat for everybody.
Ollie had to set the tone for the rest of the team to say, you guys are going to play out of your minds tonight. And therefore, I am going to be out of my mind and fly all over. Hey, look, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Jason and his family, they put in a tremendous amount of work to make it so that we have this awesome pre-match ceremony with Ollie, with all of the Falcons. And they're always out there. Letting everybody take pictures and letting them meet Ollie, talk about the birds. So you know what? No shade at all to Jason and his staff and his family. They all do an amazing job, and we love having them. So who knows? There's a lot of jokes being made around there, but Jason, nothing but love, man. We love everything you and your family does with the Falcons.
Oh, the entire McNook family. Are you kidding? Absolutely. They are forever in our thoughts here at Defenders of the Bank. We love them. You guys can, if you watch our episodes on YouTube, you can read the quote that Soccer USA put up. I'm just going to leave it up there for a minute. It was nice, by the way, that the entire 3252 got to wish Franco Escobar well as he exited the pitch yesterday. I watched the entire scene, and we'll talk about that more in just a little bit. Head coach Ben Olsen, I see here, who was it? Was it Soccer USA that said his time might be numbered? His days might be numbered in Houston. Yeah, I don't know. Look, the guy was a DC United legend. As much as maybe Peter Vermees meant to Sporting Kansas City, you could argue that their version of that in DC United was Ben Olsen. 271 matches as a player. He's still number 4 in matches played and number 3 in assists with 40 all time for DC United. 271 as a player, 375 as a head coach. And the dude is only 48 years old. This is his 3rd season with Houston. And it didn't work with Ache. They've now brought over Andre Linger. I just don't know. I mean, look, the team just also looks a little disjointed. I mean, when you're bringing in guys like Nico Lodero and Daniel Steres and some of these older heads, I mean, I love Nico Lodero, but I just don't know what the goal is, what's happening out there in Houston. Started 2025 terribly, 0-4-2, and their only 2 draws in those 6 matches were both 0-0 draws. So first 6 matches could not have gone worse, but they have righted the ship, coming into this one undefeated in their last 4, which, oh, by the way, we are now at 2-0-2, which, oh, by the way, we are now. And that 2-0-2, which is both of their wins on the season, included a 1-0 win over LAFC against us at Houston, April 6th. Of course, Jack McGlynn scoring the only goal there for Houston. He was my player to watch in this match. It turns out there were really no players to watch in this match for Houston on the Houston side of things. And just a club, Lafferty, that really seems to be struggling to find their way in what is a pretty competitive Western Conference.
Very competitive, very stacked Western Conference. Very compact, though, so anybody who starts to make some progress has a real good chance to do some damage. I think Soccer USA had a funny, funny statement here, a comment in the chat. He said they need to get a few players over 5 feet tall. Looks like a bunch of garden figurines out there.
Well,
You're right. And with
Dwanius wasn't going to help with that.
well, with a team like that, I could be competitive against them. They should have subbed me in. But no, look, here's the thing. Houston, like you said, disjointed is kind of the word that I would use. And you saw that last night. I thought they played okay together and they made a lot of things happen. They worked pretty well together, the team overall. They just didn't have maybe the ability to stack up against LAFC last night. And like I said, that 1-0 victory over us earlier in the year was with a rotated squad. We were in between CONCACAF games. Definitely our focus was not on playing a winless Houston on the road in April. So I kind of looked at that one last time as a fluke. And I think Houston has a lot of work to do to get themselves on track. But you know what? It's not my problem to fix.
No, and look, they definitely tried to fix it by signing a guy over 5 feet tall, Jonathan Bond, who came over from Watford. He came over from Watford on April 11th. Their goalkeeping has been a mess. They got this young kid, Gillingham, who was starting the first bunch of matches. Andrew Tarbell out for the season with an ACL. Jimmy Moorer, who was their backup, he's out with injuries. So they were on their third keeper in Gillingham. Actually brought him up from Dynamo too, but he's actually a really highly thought of goalkeeping prospect, but maybe thrown in a little bit too quickly. So they go to Watford of all places and bring back Jonathan Bond. Yes, the former Galaxy keeper comes back to MLS with Houston. The weird thing is they pulled the young kid Gillingham after he shut us out 1-0. He was the one in goal when he shut us out, but they didn't like what they saw from Gillingham, I don't think, or maybe it was a little too early for him. He is the next man up, but they just weren't ready to take the licks just yet. Or maybe Ben Olsen was like, nah, I kind of want a job. I got to figure out how to win a game or two, because they weren't doing it with Gillingham in net until playing us. But they bring on over Jonathan Bond, and anybody who watched the first half knows exactly why now they brought over Jonathan Bond. He was incredible. We'll talk more about that, that's for sure, at halftime. Let's get into the lineups. The 4-3-3 that Houston ran out was indeed led by Jonathan Bond on the back line. Franco Escobar, who proved at the end of the match he is still one of our own. We appreciate you, Franco Escobar. Also on the back line, Femi Awadesu, Eric Sviatchenko, and Griffin Dorsey, who I don't know if you guys understand Philly's love for the Indiana Hoosiers as much as we do here, but I just needed to put it out there that Griffin Dorsey is indeed a former Indiana Hoosier. In the midfield, Brooklyn Reigns, Jack McGlynn, and Artur, who had not come off the pitch at all this season for Houston. He actually came off in like the 89th minute. So it'll be a minute that he didn't play this season so far for Houston. And up top, Amine Bassi, Lafferty's player to watch, Ezekiel Ponce, 3 goals as the team leader. No indication as to whether Ezekiel Ponce also hates Star Wars. And then their forward, Andre Linger, who was acquired from Slavia Prague just a couple of weeks ago and got into match shape, game fit, ready to roll, 2 goals in his first 83 minutes and has looked very, very good. And in fact, did provide, there was one, I count it, one moment in the entire match that was a little bit dangerous for Houston, and it did involve Andre Linger, and we'll talk about that. It was in the second half. The players that we would see in the 18 were Sebastian Kowalczyk, Nico Lodero, Gabriel Seagal, and Junior Urso. And again, boo you, Ben Olsen. There's no reason why you could not have put Eric Dwanius into the match. You had a 5th sub available. You could have brought on Seagal, Urso, and Eric Dwanius, so he could have got his flowers for everybody who was there during the match. You suck. Now, who's our lineup for the black and gold, Chris Lafferty?
The more we talk about it, I really am upset with Ben Olsen. Like, I don't like this guy. I had nothing against him before this, but this whole not bringing in Dwanius thing really just grinds my gears. Anywho, moving on. LAFC came out in a 4-3-3 formation. Just want to send my best wishes out to Maxime Chanot, Odin Thiago Holm, and Lorenzo De Valle, who are all out with injury. Maxime Chanot, as you know, dealing with that head injury and the concussion protocol from a few matches back, which is where he returned, having been out with a concussion before that. So sending my best wishes to Maxime. In goal, we had Hugo Lloris, our eventual captain in this match. Sergi Palencia, who had a wonderful game and a couple of opportunities we'll talk about. Eddie Segura, who played a fantastic game. Aaron Long, our captain. And Ryan Hollingshead. Marky Delgado in the midfield, along with Igor Jesus, Timothy Tillman. And up front, we had Denny Bawanga, Nathan Ordaz, and David Martinez. And Scarf, you actually asked Steve Cherundolo about the combination of Ordaz and Martinez. What did he say?
Yeah, actually, I think it might have been Josh Gross. It wasn't me, but I was sitting right behind Josh. I don't want to take credit for his question on this one, but he was asked. You're absolutely right. Steve Cherundolo was asked by, I think it was Josh, why he started Ordaz and Martinez together up top. And then he specifically asked, was it to have a little bit more speed, a little bit more dynamism? And Steve essentially said, yes, for this match, that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted more speed. We wanted more dynamic ability up top, which, again, if that's not his veiled way of saying Olivier Giroud is old and slow, I don't know what it is at this point, because I actually asked Nathan Ordaz in the press conference about, like, knowing that you have Olivier Giroud, who, you know, has the pedigree, turns out, and a proven MLS goal scorer in Jeremy Ebobisse, both waiting in the wings behind you to play the number 9, you know, what it's like for him to keep up the momentum, to keep up the focus. And he said he doesn't look at it as a competition. He just does whatever he can for himself, which is great. But Nathan Ordaz absolutely looks at it as a competition. You cannot be starting over a guy like Olivier Giroud and Jeremy Ebobisse, both guys who have to be looking at young Nathan Ordaz going, damn, he always does seem to find a way to be in the right spot, to put himself in the right places. I mean, look, I don't think that at this point in his career, you could argue that Nathan Ordaz is any less talented than those two guys that he's trying to hold off. But you just look at the body of work by a Jeremy Ebobisse and certainly by an Olivier Giroud, and you got to think these older guys, and not that Jeremy Ebobisse is older, he's like, what, 27, I think? You got to take a look at some of these guys and wonder, like, how long is Ordaz going to be able to hold them off? And then he goes and has another game like he does today. And like, you know, they said in Dumb and Dumber, so you're saying there's a chance. Like, he just keeps coming with these epic performances, and good on him. Absolutely. In the 18, by the way, Lafferty, who would we see for LAFC in the 18?
We'd see Under, we'd see Marlon, we'd see the aforementioned Jeremy Ebobisse, and we'd see Amaya making his second appearance for the Black and Gold. Our new friend Raposo was not in the 18, however, for LAFC.
Yeah, we're still waiting on the first 18 for Ryan Raposo. Look, Raposo was out of a job. It's not like we brought him over from another team like we did with Frankie Amaya, who was playing elsewhere. So Raposo needing probably to get in match shape. He does seem confident, which I like about Raposo. But yeah, probably needs to get into match shape. A very early yellow card for Phillies boy Griffin Dorsey in this one, by the way, inside the first 10 minutes. And look, one of the things that I talked about on One More Sleep, Chris Lafferty, one of the things that we made sure that we emphasized that I said would be a must is if LAFC could get one in the first 20 minutes, they could really open things up against Houston. I said it, go back, fact check me. And of course, 10 minutes in, look, I want to say one quick thing about two players in this match that get a lot of grief sometimes from me on here too, for sure. And that's Eddie Segura and Timothy Tillman. Now, while I do not think that Timothy Tillman had a great game by any stretch of the imagination, I think Timothy Tillman had a much better game. Go back and watch the game a second time. And yes, you'll be a little frustrated at, look, Timothy Tillman's assist to turnover ratio might not be that great because I think he turns it over maybe as many times as he does make these great steals and start these great breakaways. But LAFC is just so much better at getting back into defensive positioning after he does versus what he is able to do to put teams on their back heels and really make some teams run backwards instead of being able to get in perfect defensive position. I really think there were a couple of times in this match where Timothy Tillman, we don't have goal scoring opportunities without him. And it all starts in this goal scoring opportunity, 10th minute, with Eddie Segura, a great pass from the back to a Timothy Tillman who finds a streaking David Martinez. And these passes from Tillman, if Tillman tries to make like a 6-yard pass to the midfielder over, he flubs that one more times than we would like to see. But if he tries to make a 30-yard through ball to a streaking David Martinez, those are the ones where I'm like, damn, Timmy Tillman, like these passes are fantastic. And what that really allowed now is for David Martinez to create. And I think when he has the ball moving forward in space, he cut to the middle, which brought that defender over. Sergi Palencia gets the ball left off, a beautiful cross by Palencia into the middle. It was in a dangerous spot. And look, it's kind of weird. I don't know how Bond doesn't just catch this ball on the dive. He kind of flubs it. Maybe Ordaz got a touch to it, but one of the easiest goals you'll ever see. He said 2 of his friends in his group chat were already clowning him about how easy the goal was. But you know what? he scored the goal while his friends on social media are just clowning him about it. So I'd rather be the guy that scores it. It's a tap in for Ordaz, but that's what your number 9 does. That's what Adama Diomande used to do. Not that Nathan Ordaz is Adama Diomande, but that's what we need from our number 9. Continue to put yourself in good positions. And just like that, Lafferty, we are up 1-0 on a great build-up play.
It was a great build-up play that finished with a little razzle-dazzle to poke that one in. Look, Nathan Ordaz was Johnny on the spot, but the thing about it was a great build-up. Palencia had some great vision, and I love how Palencia all throughout this game was not afraid to take the opportunities himself if necessary, but also finding his teammates. He had great vision all throughout and was really able to feed that one to Nathan. But look, the thing was, Nathan stayed with it. Even when Bond kind of made that initial save, it bounced off of him. He was Johnny on the spot, like I called him earlier. He knew where to be, but he didn't give up on the play. It wasn't like he missed a shot. No, that easy tap in was a result of his hard work and his focus to stay in the play until the whistle is blown. If it gets to that point, whistle wouldn't have blown, but the play continued on and he stayed in the fight and made it happen. So yes, you can say it was an easy tap in. Maybe his buddies were clowning him for the ease of the goal for how it looked on TV, but no, Nathan, my man, was out there with not just finesse, but with a little grit, and he pounded that one in and made Bond look like a fool.
No, absolutely. Look, that was one of 2 moments of brilliance from LAFC. Actually 3, 1 in stoppage time in the first half. I do want to point out that Franco Escobar picked up a yellow card in the 25th minute. That may come back to be somewhat important towards the end of the match. I thought, 29th minute, the opportunity that Denis Bouanga had with that great takeaway, where he took on 4 defenders, cut to his right, fired the shot. But I forget who Max Bretos' partner was on this one, but he referenced Kelly Rudy with the kick save. I mean, if you guys grew up listening to Kings games on radio or on television, we were incredibly spoiled to have incredible broadcasters for the Kings for 40 years. I'm blanking on his
Brian
name.
Dunseth.
Brian Dunseth, but I'm blanking on the LA Kings. Oh my God.
Chick Hearn?
No, that's the Lakers.
No. I'm not from here. What do you want?
Somebody in the chat's going to know, and I'm going to feel terrible that I can't remember the incredible LA Kings broadcaster right now. But when the Gretzky and Robitaille and Yari Curry years were going full steam, we had Kelly Rudy in goal, and I could just hear him saying, kick save and a beauty from Kelly Rudy. And it was exactly the reference that they used there on the MLS broadcast. I'm sure anybody who was watching from outside of Los Angeles went, who the heck is Kelly Rudy? But we're talking about an early 90s Kings goalkeeper who was absolutely incredible in the days of Gretzky. And then, of course, right before the halftime whistle, another steal from Denis. But Bond is there again from the left side, an incredible save. Bob Miller. Thank you, Ruben Rios, coming through. Bob Miller. Love you, Ruben. Appreciate you. We're talking about 7 saves in the first half for Jonathan Bond Lafferty. And again, 2 that take away goals from Denis Bouanga. Denis appearing to be snake bit. If you play a reel so far this season of all the great saves that have been made against Denis Bouanga, he might have had 10 goals on the season, if not for it. But, your thoughts on the first half, on Jonathan Bond with 7 saves, and on the way LAFC played.
Look, everyone called me a wild man, an animal, when I was saying we're going to win 4-0. Heck, we might win 6-0, whatever. I mean, that's being conservative. And I started throwing things and waving my arms up and down and flailing. And Philly's going, where is this Lafferty? I've never seen him before. What is happening? Well, look, that 4-0 prediction wasn't too far-fetched. I mean, 7 shots on goal. If not for incredible saves by Jonathan Bond, we're going into the half up 3-0, 4-0. It was a very doable game to get 4 in this. We came away with 2 at the end. But look, I'm watching this game going, wow, I actually wasn't crazy. I was pretty spot on with our opportunities. And yes, Bond played an incredible game, but if for a team like LAFC, who's had such struggles offensively, not only with putting chances away, but actually creating chances, getting the shots off, not hesitating, not allowing defenders to crash them and take away their opportunities. I'm loving seeing LAFC be in position to score so many goals. Now, and the thing is, we won't go against a goalkeeper like Jonathan Bond every week. So if we keep up this effort, what we saw in the first half, we're going to be an incredibly dangerous team going forward. And that's the kind of offensive output I want to see going forward. We saw glimpses of it last week against St. Louis. Didn't put enough in, didn't put too many in, but we're starting to see it again. So if this is a pattern that's developing, like what we saw in the first half and what we saw last week, I really feel good about where this offense is going. And I think things are going to start turning around for us.
And look, I think the other thing too is we get every club's best shot. So James Pantemis and Jonathan Bond and some of these guys who have had career nights against us are doing so not just because they're quality keepers, because I do think they are, but because there's just something different about the way that maybe they prepare for an LAFC versus the way they might prepare for a Houston Dynamo or a Sporting Kansas City or some of those other clubs. So I think I really do think we see their best for Houston. 0 shots on target and just 2, by the way, even needed to be blocked in the first half. Just 2. Denis had several solid opportunities. I thought we also put a ton of balls right at Jonathan Bond too. I mean, look, not that he didn't make 2 or 3 really good saves,
sure,
but he also made a couple that went right at him. And I really did think, again, Timothy Tillman had a very underrated first half and a really good second half. That's for sure. As we head into the second half, Lafferty, it was a snooze fest for about the first 20 minutes or so. I mean, look, guys, I know that every now and then we'll create an opportunity or something will happen, but it was rough. And in the 65th minute, look, the only moment of danger came kind of out of nothing, and it's where I think we tend to fall asleep just a little bit. We've seen players like Marlon and Ryan Hollingshead in the past couple matches get beat by a player making one darting run across the box into the box for a header that's put up over the top. And then that's how a team finds a goal. And it was Andre Linger who made that run, a beautiful cross. And Linger did get a head to it, but it did just go wide. It was by far Houston's best and really only chance of the entire match. Didn't register as a shot on target, but it's one that a player the caliber of Linger usually gets a little bit more on that. Maybe it was also a little too tall for him. But just one of those things that I think LAFC needs to continue to look at in a match that was, in my opinion, really devoid of a lot of teachable moments for LAFC. I thought this one actually stuck out a little bit. And then, you and I talked about this pre-match. Everything pretty much changed in terms of the tenor of energy and everything in the second half once Steve made a couple subs there in the 68th minute.
Right. Look, the subs came on at just the right moment, I felt, because there was that lull in the first 20 minutes of the second half where you also start to get a little worried where, yes, Linger had that opportunity, which was maybe their best opportunity, but you started seeing a trend or a pattern to where Houston was getting possession a lot more, and they were starting to bring it down into the box a lot more often. And I was beginning to get a little worried, like, hey, we only have a 1-0 lead at this point. Right. This is very quickly, the tables can turn, and next thing you know, it's tied up. And we're talking about a completely different game here. So we weren't, it seemed like we weren't driving at full speed anymore. I don't know if it was fatigue or focus or what was happening, but Houston seemed to be driving into bringing it. And we just seemed to be kind of coasting almost, or just playing at a very neutral level. It was kind of concerning because you started to see momentum go Houston's way. They talked about it on the broadcast as well and said that this is where Houston can, start to create opportunities. And it looks like, oh, Houston's, really getting back into it. So I was beginning to get a little fearful there that we were going to let it slip through our fingers again, or then have to play from behind. And also we were starting to accumulate yellow cards at this point in the game. So then you worried about, are our guys going to have to play too cautious? So I think it was a really critical point in the match where I was happy where Steve made these subs to bring on, especially somebody like Under coming on for Martinez, because, I've talked about it on One More Sleep. I talked about it before. I think Under is great at facilitating the opportunities, and that's what we needed because we weren't making any crisp plays or decisions out there on the field. Just a lot of pedestrian passes back and forth. So when a guy like Under comes on, I think he really has the opportunity to be a lightning rod or a catalyst for change out there on the field. Didn't see it too much in the early going from him last night, but I love the sub, and especially at that point in the match.
Yeah, I mean, look, there was also a point, and I didn't mention this, but I'm thinking back on it now. Right before halftime, after David Martinez has already picked up one yellow. Right before halftime, there was this foul in the corner on David Martinez, and everyone at the stadium held their breath for a minute because he had already been warned. He had already picked up a yellow, and the yellow that he picked up, by the way, wasn't for persistent infringement by David Martinez. It was more because somehow the referee didn't give a yellow card to Sergi Palencia early in the first half on a foul where he held up a guy who was clearly making a run that everybody in the park thought it was going to be a yellow card to Palencia. But it was one of those where you were like, he didn't give the yellow card to Palencia, so he's going to give it on the next foul. David Martinez picks up that foul, gets the yellow card, and then chases a guy down in the corner, in the corner outside the box. The yellow, again, everybody's calling that yellow soft on David Martinez. I agree that foul was a soft foul to pick up a yellow, but it was because of the Sergi Palencia lack of yellow that I think the referee warned LAFC and said, look, one more, and that's it. Because I also think the referee maybe erred a little bit in giving that very early yellow card to Griffin Dorsey. I thought that was a little soft as a yellow, but look, lots of yellows given out for sure, but I thought David could have come off at the half, let alone at 68 minutes. And look, David Martinez was beaten to a bunch of different balls last night. He didn't look very dynamic, didn't look very creative, didn't look very motivated as well. If I'm being honest, his only shot attempt was well off target. It was kind of out of frustration. It wasn't a good match for the 19-year-old. So I thought you're absolutely right. Perfect time to bring on Cengiz Under. And with that, Ben Olsen played, in my opinion, the only real card he had in the 72nd minute. And you remember Nico Lodero and everything that he's done against LAFC over the years. I mean, the guy has 120 goal contributions in 230 matches for Seattle Sounders. And Nico, he's really the only guy on that roster off the bench who could create kind of something out of nothing. He's an incredible midfielder who is towards the end of his career, or as Ante Razov puts it, in an advanced state, which I absolutely love that. And I thought, okay, you mentioned it, Lafferty, being able to let this team hang around 1-0 was very, very dangerous. And all it took is one play, right? Luckily, Linger couldn't get that header on target, unfortunately, and we heard it straight from Aaron Long's mouth. The shoulder finally started bugging him too much. He couldn't do a whole lot with it. They said it was an AC joint injury. That came straight from the mouth of Aaron Long, an AC joint injury. I mean, he was barely moving that shoulder by the end of the match. It came off of a contact injury. So Aaron Long comes off for Marlon. Jeremy Ebobisse coming on for Nathan Ordaz, which I thought was a very well-timed substitution. But some thoughts about taking Marky Delgado off for Frankie Amaya. Look, I thought Jesus was going to come out because Jesus was already on a yellow. You actually had some thoughts about maybe taking out Timothy Tillman, but he shuts you up just a couple minutes later. But let's talk real quick, Lafferty. Mark Delgado was pissed coming off too. I mean, his body reaction, everything else, he was real pissed. Didn't high-five Jeremy Ebobisse, who ran by, and it was just the whole thing. Marky Delgado showing a little frustration.
Yeah, Abobasi looked a little hurt. He looked back like, "Are you going to high-five me?" No, but Abobasi, yeah, like during that exchange, there was just no exchange on Mark Delgado's part. It seemed like he was talking to Cherundolo on the way off. You know, barely kind of acknowledged him, barely shook his hand, whatever, just blew right past him. Even Ante Razov went to shake his hand, and again, he just kind of whiffed right by him. Just wasn't happy with coming out. One, I appreciate that from a guy like Mark Delgado, but the thing is, I believe in a guy like Mark Delgado to play the full 90 for us. And with his play, I didn't see a reason to take him off at all. I thought he played a really exceptional game again, as he has all year. I thought last night was no different. I thought he was really doing a great job locking down the transition from Houston, but also making sure that he was creating opportunities for us. And look, there were a lot of things that I just didn't like about Tillman's play last night. I thought he had a better game than he had more recently. But the thing about that I just wasn't liking about Tillman, I thought in the box, his passes are just they just seem not productive to anybody when we're getting down into the Houston zone. But also when we're trying to clear the ball out of our own zone on defense, you know, a lot of times it's like my note that I had was like, if you're going to clear the ball, clear the freaking ball, like get it out of there. Instead, we're making these short little like 6-yard passes, just very simple passes to guys that are close by us. Meanwhile, all we're doing, I felt like he created a couple of opportunities for Houston to just intercept it right away. And then all of a sudden we're playing on our back heels with them taking shots in the 18. I thought Tillman was creating a lot of risky opportunities for Houston to really sneak one in on us throughout the game. So I just felt like, just like with Martinez earlier, I felt like we saw all we were going to see from him in that game. So I was fine with taking him out. I thought the same with Tillman. I was like, look, we've seen what he's going to do. If you're going to take one of those three midfielders out, I trust Mark Delgado out there a lot more than I do Timothy Tillman. And so I kind of shared that same anger or frustration that Delgado had when he was coming off. I didn't know that it was necessarily the right move. But hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And folks, right now, no, he's not letting it linger. He's just looking for his microphone to come back on.
I had to cough, and so I didn't want to cough on the mic, but I forgot to hit unmute. Look, just like your feelings for Star Wars are misplaced, your feelings for Timothy Tillman misplaced in that match as well. As just a couple minutes later, it starts from inside our own 18, inside the top of our box. And who is it? The man that apparently Chris Lafferty can't stand, like he can't stand Star Wars. Timothy Tillman with a takeaway, and very quickly sending a long one up the pitch for a streaking but still clothed Denis Bouanga, who plays it. I mean, he plays it to Jeremy Ebobisse, but it wasn't a good pass. It wasn't a progressive pass. Jeremy Ebobisse kind of had to stop his run. It was an awkward first touch, and none of that mattered because Jeremy Ebobisse bangs it into the back of the net with the left foot. He went 5-hole on the defender, goes through the defender's legs. And then, I don't know, I'm kind of surprised that Bond didn't get to that one. It wasn't like it was in the far corner. It kind of went under Jonathan Bond. Obviously, the defender being there maybe got him a little bit of a late start on getting to the ball. I don't know. I think Jonathan Bond will tell you that maybe he should have had that one. But like they say in Meatballs, it just doesn't matter because Jeremy Ebobisse able to put it in the back of the net. It's his second goal for LAFC, the first since opening night against Minnesota. And I was a little surprised at what Jeremy said when they asked about the goal. He thought, yeah, maybe I should have given it right back to Denis Bouanga for a little give and go. And in watching it in slow motion, I mean, sure, if he slots this second pass to Denis Bouanga, maybe Denis is able to have an easier shot on goal. But you know what? The ball finds the back of the net. Denis with the assist instead of the goal. And, oh, by the way, Chicho Arango is now tied for the goal-scoring lead in MLS with 7. Denis still just 3 behind the goal-scoring leaders. But this one's all about Jeremy Ebobisse. Makes it 2-0, and he was very happy about it in the presser as well. And you saw his reaction in front of the 32-52, scoring the goal. It was a good moment for Jeremy. Not much else, if we're being perfectly honest, to take away from the rest of the match. I thought that in the scarf minute, by the way, a nice little play in the scarf minute. So I always want to highlight what happens there. If there's anything fun, Denis makes a pass across the top of the box that's left there by Cengiz Under on like a dummy run. And then Sergi Palencia coming out of nowhere, streaking down the line, fires high. It looked like it might have been a deflection, but oh well. That's it for the regular time action that happened. But I know, Laffer, do you want to add one more thing before we talk about Franco Escobar's exit in the match?
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, I wanted to go back to that goal, though, from Abobasi, where I think it looked as if it was maybe a bad pass from Bouanga, but Abobasi recovered it really well and handled it really well. But I think they mentioned this on the broadcast too. It was almost as if, while Abobasi had to stop, the defender didn't stop right away, didn't realize how the play was breaking down. And in doing so, and him keeping going and kind of losing his position and trying to get back into a spot to try to take a shot against Abobasi, who fired that right away. He did not take his time to dance around with it and get himself reset. He gave himself the best opportunity, which was just immediately taking it. Catching the defender offhand, also acted sort of as a blocker for Jonathan Bond there, kind of got in his way, maybe threw off Bond's reading of the play by it. So, while it was a bad pass, it really broke down more for Houston, fortunately, which was able to let us sneak that in and maybe take away an opportunity for a save from Jonathan Bond, which he demonstrated throughout the match that he can make plenty of throughout the game. So yeah, I think that while it broke down, it definitely played into our favor because it made things break down for Houston a lot more. But I want to just read you a quote that we got from Timothy Tillman when asked about my thoughts on what was going through his head on that pass to Denis Bouanga from their 18 to lead and set up that goal. They said, hey, what were your thoughts about Lafferty wanting to have Delgado come out? Tillman come out instead of Delgado, and Tillman said, well, hey, let me show you why I'm in, you big stupid idiot, Lafferty. That's a quote from Timothy Tillman, folks. He did it to personally spite me. He heard some of my takes out there. He heard things I've been saying about him all year. And he said, well, let me shut this big stupid idiot up. So that is a quote. It really happened. May the 4th be with you all.
I was gonna say you didn't include the last part where he said I love Star Wars, but there's that. Look, in the 5th minute, it was a pretty innocuous foul, if I'm going to be honest. I think it might have been a little soft to give a second yellow. I don't know. But either way, not complaining anytime you make Franco Escobar walk the entire length of the half of BMO Stadium in front of the 32-52, who were, I'll just say, exchanging pleasantries with Franco Escobar as he went by. It was nice for him and the 32-52 to be able to reconnect again. It was I was shocked he chose to go that way and not the other way, a little bit longer of a way.
I wasn't shocked at all. I think he was loving every minute of it. He was milking that. He was doing it on purpose. He wanted all the smoke. And look, here's the thing. The thing with Escobar too, and to nobody's surprise, that actually his first yellow card of the match was going to have him suspended on yellow card accumulation for the next match that Houston plays against Seattle. But so already he was going to miss their next match. So he kind of was like, well, I'm going to stay in. And I have nothing really to lose at this point. I just got to make sure I don't do it at a point where it puts my team in a disadvantageous position if I do get a second yellow too early on. So that's why he saved it for stoppage time. And look, here's the thing. It wasn't that he did anything maybe egregious for that second yellow, but Rosendo Mendoza said, hey, look, if your stupid idiot coach Ben Olsen is not going to put in Eric Dwanius for him to get his flowers from the fans, I'm going to give the opportunity for another former LAFC player to get his due and his praise and his credit from the fans by giving this guy a red card, sending him off so he can have a moment with the 32-52. It was just an act of charity from the head official, Rosendo Mendoza. Wanted to point that out. I appreciated it.
Look, much appreciated for sure. Escobar gets to take the walk. There was some security there by him as he was going by. How about no shots on target for the entire match? Just 3 shots that were blocked in the entire match as well. I mean, I don't know. Hey, there's Carlos. Everybody, Carlos Mariscal inviting everybody out to Fullerton tonight for LAFC 2's match. I want to point out too, Ben Olsen, we already are upset with you because you didn't bring in Eric Dwanius, but not even being able to manufacture more than 3 shots really throughout 4 shots really throughout the entire match. It was a rough one. Excellent defending by LAFC. We'll have to see the status of Aaron Long. I would love again to see Nkosi Tafari get some more minutes for sure. Unfortunately, it has to come maybe at the expense of the injury of Aaron Long. The XGs were about 2 to about 0.15 if you're keeping score at home. LAFC now in the table moves up to 5th place, 17 points. So 5th place, 17 points, and just 2 points back of 2nd place. Yes, we are 9 points back of Vancouver, but I'm looking at the 2nd place spot right now. Once you close out 2nd place, then you can start to hopefully chip away at Vancouver, who did upend Lionel Messi and Inter Miami 5-1 on aggregate to move into the final against just Matty Bogusz, Omar Campos, and Cruz Azul in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final. So I guess we're rooting for Cruz Azul in that one. I don't know.
Former LAFC player is going to win. A former LAFC player is going to win the CONCACAF tournament this year. No matter who wins.
I mean, look.
No matter who wins.
But they're talking about, by the way, Tristan Blackman getting some love for Defender of the Year right now. I mean, he is having a fantastic season up in Vancouver.
The guy is relentless. I love his aggression out there on the field. Always have. That was what made him my favorite player to watch when I first started watching LAFC. And I think that he's really had a resurgence this year. Maybe you think, look, this new coaching staff, we all love Vanni Sartini. He did a good job up there. We loved his antics and everything. But I think Vancouver, it's just showing they made the right decision to go in a different direction with their coach. I think they hit the ceiling with Sartini. And now, their new coaching staff in there is really getting these guys firing on a level that they haven't been before.
Yeah.
We started to see their progression, and it's made them look really much better this year. Without Ryan Gold too for a stretch. I don't know if he's still out, but I know he was injured earlier. I don't know why I know all this about Vancouver. It's very strange, but congratulations to them on getting this far.
It's because you've done your scouting. Obviously, they're next up for LAFC Sunday, May 11th, up at BC Place. LAFC will take on number 1 Vancouver Whitecaps, looking to close that 9-point gap. And one last thing I want to mention, Genuine Cougar mentions it there in the chat. The Court of Arbitration for Sport has apparently already ruled in the Leon ruling whether or not they'll be able to play in the Club World Cup, as Leon is owned by the same owners of another team that is also in the Club World Cup. They just haven't published their ruling yet, so we should find out maybe Monday or Tuesday. If the Court of Arbitration for Sport rules against Leon participating in the 2025 Club World Cup, LAFC and Club America will apparently be playing in a one-match playoff. Rumor has it that match could be at SoFi. I don't know. There have been a lot of different rumors going around about that one. But Club America versus LAFC for a spot in the Club World Cup. And, oh, by the way, I believe it's a team from Morocco that I'm blanking on right now. Flamenco and Chelsea would be the group that LAFC would be put in if we are able to make it. That should be a fun one. Chris Lafferty, we've been talking about this match for about an hour now, my friend. I know you're really excited to start your Star Wars Day celebration, but before we begin all that, is there anything else you'd like to close this episode with?
There sure is, and it has nothing to do with Vancouver or Tristan Blackman or anything of the sort. I want to give some praise to somebody that has taken a lot of hits throughout the fan base in these past few years. Last night, Eddie Segura played a great game from start to finish. Eddie Segura helped set up that first goal that we had early on in the beginning of the match. All throughout the night, I thought his defense, he had a couple of great strategic fouls throughout the night, but that weren't too much to get him yellow cards or anything. But I thought Eddie Segura really stood out to me last night. And that's something that we've really got to appreciate, because while I know that he has not always been the best player for us out there, or sometimes he's had some head scratching moments, to see a guy like him put together a complete, full, productive match for LAFC, that was my biggest takeaway from last night. Aside from our offensive opportunity and our offensive progression, having a guy like Eddie Segura out there playing at a much higher level than we've seen from him before, and be the reliable, steady presence out there that we need, especially at a time with guys like Chanot out with an injury, Aaron Long, who knows how this thing is going to go with his shoulder and how well it's going to hold up in the future. We're going to need guys like Eddie Segura. So to see a guy like him play the match that he did last night is my biggest promising takeaway from the match. Also want to give a lot of credit to, I thought we coached the match really well with our substitutions, pulled all the right strings and everything. Again, I had issues with the Mark Delgado one coming off, but I was quickly shut up and made to look like a fool. But still, I just look overall last night watching the game. There were a lot of lulls in the match, whatever. And I felt like we were starting to get maybe to a critical point where if we don't make some changes, things are going to start to turn around and go in Houston's favor, because they were starting to knock at that door. And I love that everybody out there on the field and on the sideline addressed all those concerns and wiped them away and said, Laugh, you have nothing to worry about. You can go enjoy your Sunday tomorrow. You can go watch Star Wars. You can have a wonderful day. You can dress up in costume if you want to, but don't worry, we got everything handled on the pitch. So thank you to LAFC for that. Thank you to Eddie Segura. Now we can all go and enjoy our May 4th.
Yeah, and look, Jesus Murillo, by the way, along with former LAFC player Alonso, Jesus Murillo was there in the building, so it was nice to see Muri watching the match. Murillo, 6th all-time, 142 matches for LAFC. I only bring that up because we talked about it at the start of this at this podcast. You got Eddie Segura starting the match in 2019 that we played on May 4th. And here is Eddie Segura starting the match in 2025. Only 2 players in the history of this club, Carlos Vela with 189 appearances and Latif Blessing with 167, have played more matches in a black and gold shirt than Eddie Segura's 154 matches in black and gold. So you're talking about one of just 4 players ever for 150 appearances, with Eduardo Atuesta with 152. Ryan Hollings had 4 away, by the way, from his 150th cap in a black and gold uniform. But you sometimes take a player like Eddie Segura for granted. You sometimes allow him to be the lightning rod. But you know what? What he has been is he has been there for us for quite a while for this club. So with that, you guys know how we like to end each and every episode. Again, thank you all for however you access Defenders of the Bank. Thank you for everybody in the chat. And like Ruben Rios likes to put there for us, don't forget to please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This has been episode 358 of Defenders of the Bank. And you know how we like to end each and every one of these. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.